something, if you have something more than that, let's find where we agree, and we'll bring you on the show.
Yeah, that'll work. And then also in the near future here, we will be adding even more to the show. It will be hopefully by the end of this week, we will have all of the new stuff added. We're going to kind of incorporate it one step at a time so that things go smoothly, ideally.
And if you're watching this right now, live, you get to come along for the ride, dude. You get to see where the greatest show on the internet started to get its rise. You're going to be one of the
meteoric, something like that.
meteoric.
With any luck.
I don't want to be a meteoric rise. I want to be a gradual, because we're the greatest and we know it. So I just want to gradually rise up here, and then we get to become the most popular conservative show. Intellectuals, I mean, those conservative intellectuals online, obviously. And then we just stay there for 20 years. And then after that, we write a book about it.
Is that the plan?
That's the plan. I mean, we're not Navy SEALs. We can't write a book immediately like every Navy SEAL's ever done.
Right. We're going to start off with something easy tonight. Let's go ahead and, hey, look at that. We got overlays. They work.
Whoa!
I know you can't tell, but the audience can see it now, which is nice.
Heck yeah, they can.
And now I don't have to constantly click back and forth so that the audience can see it, because, man, that is really annoying. So that's good. We're going to start off with an easy video here. This is a leftist that has a question for conservatives.
Okay, question for MAGAs. What was something Joe Biden did or a policy he implemented that directly impacted your life or the life of one of your loved ones? Bad answers are getting ridiculed in the comments. Go. Okay, question for MAGAs. What was something Joe Biden did or a policy he implemented that directly impacted your life or the life of one of your loved ones? Bad answers are getting ridiculed in the comments. Go.
So I think...
So bad answers are getting killed in the comments?
Well, he said bad answers are getting ridiculed, whatever, you know. I don't know what he means by that. But
it means they're going to attack you based on whatever you say.
Yeah, I didn't see the original post. I saw this reposted, so I wasn't able to look at the comments, unfortunately. But I think his point, I think his idea and his point was things were great under Joe Biden, so there's no way they're going to be able to come up with things that happened under Joe Biden, policies that were introduced, etc., that made our lives worse, which, of course, isn't true. So go ahead, and I'll let you answer the question first. What is a policy?
Well, it's just funny to me because the biggest thing I see them point to is there weren't, look at like the lack of riots under Joe Biden, but every time Trump's in, we have a bunch of riots. And I think it just goes to the way conservatives deal with stuff and the way leftists deal with stuff. Apparently conservatives, we let you come into our church and stomp all over our holy places and attack us in the streets and slander us online, laugh when we get killed. We let you do that. And leftists, if you do something they don't like, they do the former. They do everything I just said. So that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case. As far as
it's a way to bully and intimidate you into doing whatever they want. Hey, you don't, you keep deporting people, and we want people. Some of them are literally just brainwashed into hating anything that Republican or conservative people will do. So they're going to be there no matter what. There are dedicated protest groups in Oregon, in Minnesota, in New York, and I hate to say it, but there's some up there in Washington too.
What?
Yeah, it's true. And they don't have any specific cause. They're like, we're together, and they look for things to go out and protest. They have a board, and they go, is this worthy of protesting? Yes, whatever it is, we're going to go protest that. And they gather. They're just like a local book club. Instead of reading a book and then talking about it, they find issues to protest. It doesn't matter what. Then they'll go out and protest it. And their goal is to agitate. And a lot of them are communist fronts. So basically what that means is they take a cause and they find a way to attach it back to communism, trying to make everyone more communist. And it's not a coincidence that you see a lot of this rhetoric ties back into communist movements. Like when they talk about like somehow, like every time somehow the idea of billionaires gets brought up. Do you ever notice that? It's like this thing happens and they're like, oh, it's the billionaires. The billionaires are the reason that Mrs. Good died. That's it. You know? So if they can bring everything back to communism, that's their goal. And I think we've done.
I also think that I also think that they just aren't that deep of thinkers. So they only have a handful of things they can relate it to anyway. But I agree. Yeah. That it's always about
but
trying
there's
to
active people. Like somebody did a book on that. There's a book, and I cannot remember the dang name. It came out in the early 2000s. Where he goes in how communists operate, and he went through like every country they went into, whether it be Iran, the communist agitators that were in France for a long time, the ones in like Eastern Europe. And basically, it's usually like 3 or 4 avowed communists, and they rally people. They go and agitate. Again, they take a big issue that's a hot button issue, and they find a way to get people to make it think that it's the communism will fix this. Right. So that's how they operate. And typically they do these protests. Now it's way different now, but protest is a big way that they operate. They get 3 or 4 people and they go out and they do it in small cities. It's really funny. You go to a city of 15,000 people and there's 4 people out there with the sign saying they want this very specific tiny law changed. Right. And then their hope is other people will just start coming to it, and gather other people there. And that's why when you go to these protests and some guy who's brave enough to go and ask people what they're protesting for, the vast majority can't say why they're there. They can't. And it's undeniable that I would say 50 to 60% of these losers are just out there having fun. Big smiles on their faces, breaking stuff, getting to burn stuff down. Ooh, this is a chance to have a good time. That's why they're out there. They don't care about Renee Good. They don't care one freaking iota. In fact, there's black people out there saying, the BLM people saying, this is BS. You can't say her name, right? You can't be all out there saying, say her name, because that's the black thing. Okay. And the guys that are leading these protests, the one guy was on record saying, I really just wish she was black. I mean, it's like, are you freaking just giving the game away? They're like, it's black because that's the only way we can get that identity group, because they only think of black people as an identity group that they can manipulate. They don't give 2 shits about black people in any deep level. They want to use them to manipulate them. The Mexicans figured that out and they moved away. That's why you see a lot of Mexican groups moving away from the Democrats, because they realized you don't give 2 craps about us as an identity group. You see us as a voting bloc. And that's why they left.
I think you're conflating, I mean, aside from, we're well far from where we started, but I think you're conflating.
I don't give a shit.
I think you're conflating 2 things there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the, sorry, I had to check something real fast. I think you're conflating the average followers and the people that inspire or create these movements, right? Because you're spot on about the people that create the movements as far as not caring about the people involved. The communists themselves are just useful idiots. The communists, the progressives are not communists. The people that are making these things happen are not communist. They have a lot of, closely aligned communist goals, but they are using the communists as useful idiots in the same ways that you were just describing. But the average person that's out there on the street, I do think that they believe they care. They have empathy, they have sympathy, and they do have some sort of emotional connection to what they're doing.
Some of them.
They're completely
some
wrong
of them
about
definitely do. There's some that are easily manipulated through their emotion. They get them in different ways. You don't hit them all the same way, Chris. You hit them like the ones that are deeply emotional. You tell them this person died and this is bad.
It's all
you
about
would have given 2 shits if I didn't tell you.
That's the only way that they sell to them. That's the only way that they
What?
sell to them. The only way they create
No,
these
other
crowds is
ones, they
through
get them a
emotion.
good time. There's videos of these people in Minneapolis
Those are
talking
just
about how much fun they're
opportunists,
having.
though. Those are just opportunists, though. It doesn't matter what.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
it
if it
all
was
mixes into it. It's a big pot of shit, and they're stirring it, right?
It could be. It could be.
However they can get you into
Can I
that
fucking
pot
say
is what they're
something,
going to sell
please?
you on.
Can I speak, please?
No.
Jesus, you're fired up tonight. It doesn't matter
I'm
if
really
it's
pissed about that church
Jesus
thing. I gotta
Christ.
say that
Why
set a
am I
fire in
even
my
here?
ass.
Why am I even here?
And another thing. All right, go ahead.
It doesn't matter if it's a riot about a hockey game. The opportunists are still going to be there. That's the only point I'm trying to make. The political is entirely separate from the opportunists. And yes, there are plenty of opportunists that jump into the political and take advantage of that too. But they're just looking for free shit, right? They're just looking to smash things. They're just looking to steal whatever it is. And they'll show up no matter what's going on as long as there's chaos. But generally speaking, I think that it's important that we recognize that there are that the people that are doing these things. Renee Good herself, for example, believes she was doing the right thing. She deeply believes that she is fighting Nazis. Now, the people that convinced her of that, they don't believe that. They know they know that they're lying. But if it wasn't for that emotional pull, that's what gets these people out there. That's why the lie is useful, because they can manipulate them emotionally. Now,
they tell them, yeah, you're right. You're right. And I'm going to say again, you're right. I am fired up because I'm really pissed about the Minneapolis church thing.
We'll
right?
get to that in just a minute here.
I know. I'm just saying that's why I'm pissed. Because that's the first time I've been pissed like this since they started trying to trans the kids. Like, that's how much that got to me, that they went into a church because they've attacked Christians through legislation, through rhetoric, for years now, and now they're going into the places of worship and intimidating those people. How do you I guarantee, how many people do you think that belong to that church? How many people are going to hesitate going to church next Sunday?
I doubt many, but I get what you're saying.
No, if they got kids you're like, man, if they come in with bats next time or something, like I don't want to watch it on YouTube.
They might take precautions like that by not bringing their kids or something. But I think that most people will probably go to church, and they'll be more vigilant this time going to church. If it happens again, or is allowed to continue happening, then 100%, it's going to make a huge difference, right? But I think because it is such an outstanding incident, other than that church specifically, I don't think it's going to have a broader effect. It will if we allow it to keep happening.
Well, I know that when they had the big church shooting in Minneapolis, that church attendance dropped, right? All of this stuff targeting churches. Now they're just going into churches that, they just march up in there. What if one guy in there was, he brought a weapon of some kind, and decided to take a swing at one of these people? Like, they called them white. So Christian nationalism is nothing to do with white supremacy, right? Christian nationalism is an idea that you return to Christian values in our government. There's desperate versions of it. There's some people that think we run the Constitution based on a Christian lens, and there's other people that say we implement Christian policies or policies that are more Christianized. Or then there's other people, probably like you, I think, who go back to the Christian origins of the Constitution and apply them through that Christian originality. Yeah. But they attach white Christian nationalists, and this is a deliberate move on their part to associate it with white nationalism. Christian nationalists can be Black, they can be Asian, they can be Hispanic, and yes, they can be white. But the idea is to associate that language, and that's been new too. These are the new things they're up to.
Yeah.
But anyway, Joe Biden, what did Joe Biden do? He worsened the race relations.
I was just going to say, do you want to just move on to the church thing? Go ahead and finish the Joe Biden thing, and we'll move on.
Yeah, he worsened the race relations. in the country by constantly making that his talking points. Um, he he strengthened our well, it's not strengthened, the word, it's not the right word. He made us
Emboldened.
more dependent on China,
Ah,
right, for a lot of product and all this crap. In fact, he worsened our relations with China in a way because he appeared so freaking weak that China,
oh
the
yeah.
rest of the world doesn't think, like the average. There's these idiots in America. They're like, I'm talking about the hardcore libertarian, and I'm talking about the leftists who think if we're just nice to the world, they'll be nice to us. They don't understand the world doesn't think that way. They think wherever there's weak, they're like sharks, and we're like
Hmm.
sharks too. And if there's a weak shark, other sharks will kill it because they can, So that's just the way it is, and sitting there and wishing and hoping, I'm not. And with leftists, you're not going to be able to stop them from thinking the way they do. You're not going to be able to um, change their mind or anything like that. All you can do is take away their teeth. You can take away their ability to hurt people
Yep.
because they're going to hurt people.
Well, it's the peace through strength thing. It is literally through strength that you are capable of having peace. A man is not
Hmm.
a man is not peaceful because he's incapable of committing violence. He's only peaceful if he's capable of it and chooses not to, right? Um
Yep.
and you're right. I mean, it's the same thing with the climate thing, right? If
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what we do over here because the rest of the world doesn't care and they're going to keep using emissions at any level.
Yeah.
They're going to keep growing, right? Which is far outweighing any changes that we make here in the first world, for lack of a
Hmm.
better way to put it. And
They
it's
move
the
in
exact same
everywhere we
thing.
back out of. They move into, and
Ex-
that's just the way it is.
yeah, yeah. I mean, generally speaking, I agree with that statement. We obviously had some disagreement about that specifically about Iran the other day, but generally speaking, I agree with the statement. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
and as far as my answer to the video on Joe Biden, it literally any policy had a negative effect on us, whether it's weakening our stance with China, as well as
Hmm.
increasing our dependency on them, whether it was the American Rescue Plan or whatever it was called, and the Inflation Reduction Act, both of which drastically increased our spending, which drastically increased inflation, any number of other things. Um,
Hmm.
the only thing that on paper looked good that I can possibly think of offhand. You also had the LGBT whatever at the White House, where you had trannies showing their titties on the White House lawn. Like the level of disrespect and the level of just mockery that
The
took
trans
place.
in prison thing. How many
Well,
women were
that too.
sexually
I
abused
don't
in
know.
prison?
I don't know if that was Biden specifically or not, but
It was
regardless.
Kamala Harris. Well, so we got to keep in mind none of it was Biden. It
Well,
was the
yeah.
people that had their hand up Biden's butt,
I just meant
right?
Biden's administration. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean the same thing. The only thing that I can possibly point to that on paper was sort of good was the bringing the chip processing plants here. Except there was never any ground broken. He gave them a ridiculous amount of money to accomplish nothing with, no
Hmm.
guarantees or anything.
He paid lip service to it for sure.
Yeah. And so like on paper it was great and all, but it didn't actually get us anything in the long run. So
Hmm.
it it wasn't until Trump got in there that some changes were actually made, but even still I still don't think they're here. Granted, Trump's only had it's hard to remember that Trump has only been in office for exactly 1 year now. Matter of fact, exactly 1 year today. We should have been doing a look at the first year today. If I was thinking maybe we'll do that on Friday.
Tomorrow, yeah, or
Um,
Thursday. Oh no, are we streaming? What days are we not streaming?
what is today? Today's Tuesday, right?
I think Wednesday
Yeah.
and Thursday, I hate to talk shop here, but Wednesday and Thursday, we just set up the stuff for the weekend show. Like we'll get together, hang out for 9 hours or something and just talk about the stuff. Anyway, what's the next thing? Because I took up way too much time. I apologize.
No,
I was
you're fine,
very
man.
angry.
You're fine. But yeah, I mean that's the only thing I can even possibly think of. The whole
Mhm.
concept was laughable. But we need to
Yeah.
move into our first segment today, which is we don't have a cut screen for it, unfortunately. It would make the joke a lot funnier. But the
Bum, bum, bum.
Lamone Lisa.
La Mona Lisa.
Lamone,
Smile.
see, I told you I was gonna screw it up. At least I didn't say
Mhm.
Lemon Lisa. There will
If
be a
anyone
cut for
doesn't
that at some
know,
point.
it's not Don Lemon. He pronounces it Lemon. So
Lamone.
it's La Mona Lisa smile. He's only happy when he's bashing white people and Christians, and prominently white Christians.
Yeah, and so by
Like,
the
did you
way,
see the video? And he goes, "I showed up here and I went, wait a minute.
well,
There's a lot of white, look like a MAGA rally. Then I
Well-
realized they were doing some undercover stuff. Like, what a toolbar. He acts like he's embedded with a battalion in Ukraine right now. That freaking poos.
we'll play a few of them here. I'm not sure exactly which ones because we forgot to pull these before the show. That's why I disappeared on you for a second while you were ranting because I needed to pull some up. But let's see what we got.
You don't need to tell the audience that. We just hit it. We just do it.
Oh, I suppose you want to see it too, huh? There you go.
Renee Gunn! Renee Gunn! Renee Gunn!
Hands up, don't shoot. That one really.
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where
Do you know
are
who this guy
you drink
is
your
screaming in his
coffee,
face?
You
He
got
sounds
your jewelry,
familiar.
You have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities?
I'm not going to comment.
You have no comment. Exactly. Renee Gunn! Renee Gunn!
Oh, the blacks are gonna get bad.
You know, I have some thoughts
All
on
these
this.
comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No. Jesus would dine with immigrants. Do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't. Don't
You are a fake Christian. Why are you
Unfortunately,
not
these
standing
guys
with your
don't know that
Somali
they
and Latino
can
community?
forcibly
Why
remove
do I
him.
not
That
see
is
you out at
private
Whipple every
property.
day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now.
That fucking piece of shit bearded guy. The homeless guy.
Living
You
real
live a
comfortable while
comfortable
the people starve.
life.
Living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you?
Yeah, I wonder how he
Shame on
lives.
you. Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos. Quit ignoring this injustice.
I'm not going to stand with
He wears
illegal
a suit and
aliens.
tie,
Sorry.
and
I'm going to stand with
he
Americans.
hangs out with Kristi Noem. How is that a Christian? You're supposed to accept all immigrants, are you not? Why are you not going down to Whipple and joining us in protest against this inhumanity?
Nice.
You claim to be a Christian.
That's the way
act
to win
like
them.
one.
Oh man, I'm gonna come with you somewhere, you fucking piece of shit.
All right, calm down. You're going to get us kicked off. Let's see. Where's the right feed? There it is. All right. So that's what happened from obviously the view of the protesters, right? So you might be wondering, where does Don Lemon fit into all this? Well, he shouldn't, but I'm wondering, well, let's let him talk first. So Don Lemon fits into this because Don Lemon was there. Here's what his cameraman was filming while that other stuff was taking place.
Uh,
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of the
I feel like
days.
somebody
That's the
needs
hope of
to
the world is
explain
Jesus
the
Christ.
First
I'm going to
Amendment
be
to
very
him.
respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship.
He's not
Jesus.
pushing you.
That's why we're
You
here.
just keep shoving your
That's why
microphone
we're
in his
here.
face.
That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
We're about
and
worship.
love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
No
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my
This is
family,
what
so I
they-
asked that you actually would also.
Yeah, they're not there to talk.
don't
They're
wanna
there to
sit
shout.
Unless you're here to
Chronicle what
worship.
happened.
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
I'm
We're here
sure
to
you
worship.
are,
Okay.
Don.
Thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. What do you think of this?
So that's what he was doing while the rest of this was going on.
yeah, calm
And-
down, Chris.
No, I don't think I will. Naturally, because he was... I hate giving him attention in the first place because he was almost entirely irrelevant. And that's why I have a sneaking suspicion. Naturally, people... I'll mention my suspicion in a second. I'm going to tease that for a second.
Okay.
Obviously, people latched on to him being there, to him promoting this, essentially, by grilling this pastor. He's
No
not...
one was reacting, so he went up to the pastor. That's what happened. If you watch the full thing, nobody was reacting or giving any comment. So, and the pastor just kept preaching. And so he went up literally to interrupt him.
Is that what
That's
he
why
did?
he went up there.
Well, and
That's
the
why he
thing
did
is,
that.
if he was just there as a reporter or a journalist, right, to observe what's going on, he wouldn't be participating. He might interview somebody after all the action's over and say, "What did you think about that?" or whatever. But he's not. He's grilling him in the middle of it all happening. This guy's like, I'm trying to, like you can tell he's trying to basically say, I'm trying to see what's going on. I'm trying to make sure everything's okay. And he just keeps getting back in his face. And it's like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, you're clearly part of this. You're not just observing. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I don't have...
the Twitter of the guy with the beard. That guy was the most aggressive, yelling at children. He decided it was a good idea to yell at kids under the age of 12.
So I will I'll look him up here in just a second. I have two other videos for us. The first one is Don Lemon responding because obviously the internet blew up. The focus was primarily on him, both because he was participating.
Oh, is it with that white drunk bitch? I don't want to hear her.
No, it's not. This is just a video of him.
Administration and the fake news magas are losing their mind over something that's not even true.
Oh, no, sir.
Oh,
This ain't got
I didn't
nothing to
realize
do
this
with
was a
Mac.
cut video. I thought
This
it was
got
the actual
everything to
video.
do with you taking your fagger ass up in that church and harassing people like that. Now you want to circle
her
back
preach.
and act like, oh, well,
Let her
I have
preach.
no affiliation,
All right.
association. No. You are in 110% corroboration with the Democratic Party that is causing more and more problems. You, by the way, who keep saying that white people are devils, but you married to a white man. So does that make you the devil's broad? I'm trying to understand, what is it exactly that you are doing, and what is it exactly that you want us to think that you're doing? You are opposition to any and everything that is successful in this country. Anything that is trying to get this country together, you are in direct opposition of. But then you want to come back and try to play the victim. No. You're not a victim, Don. You are not a victim. You are 100% guilty of all the shit that you have already done. And then you keep doing it. Then you keep doing it. Then you want us to come in and talk about, oh, well, you know, it's the news. It's the news. You're a damn journalist yourself. Listen, people, I keep trying to tell you, we're doing a complete separation. If you are not a melanated American, if you are not one of our non-melanated cousins, all y'all can get out. Even the people that were born here. If you do not like this country, and Don, you got plenty of money, take your ass somewhere else. You and your husband. Why don't you go
that
somewhere?
I can agree with.
Where is all the rest of these people? Where did what's the name? The white lady that had the TV show. Yeah, go with Portia.
I thought she was going to say the white lady with the teeth.
DeGeneres. Why don't you go be neighbors with Ellen and them? Just get that fuck out.
I'm with her.
I wanted to see his response there, but here, this might be it.
Are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? It's something Hammett, Gillen or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization.
No, you
That's
grilled the pastor.
It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff.
You've never been a journalist,
First Amendment, absolutist. There you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protests at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea.
And so you went up and interviewed.
God, he's such a smug douche.
No, he's always been that way. Look at his interview he did with Elon. He just lied to his face, and when Elon would fact check him, he'd go, well, that's just...
So he claims, so this video is taken outside of the church. I don't know if this is pre or post. Hopefully we'll find out.
I think it's pre if I've seen it.
From the context here. The claim is that this proves that this was his idea or that he was participating in it. Let's see.
How are you?
Good to see you.
They're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason.
He acts like he's embedded with a unit in Ukraine.
It may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned the camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go. Let's go. Okay.
So they couldn't prepare at the church.
Thank you guys for allowing me to be here.
Okay,
Thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you?
Good
to see you. We're on. We're not saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you. Tell us why you're doing this.
So
this is Nakima Levy Armstrong. She's on the show on Friday.
Levy Armstrong, civil rights attorney, longtime activist here in the community. And, we protest and do activism in all kinds of ways. This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there. And then we disrupt business as usual. So that's what we're about to go do right now. We've had a lot of success with the times we have done Operation Pull Up.
Yeah.
After George Floyd was killed, we went to the Police Federation heads home and staged a demonstration there. We also went to the head of the U.S. Marshals from Minnesota after Winston Smith was killed by the U.S. Marshals. We went there after Dante Wright was killed.
All right. So that does kind of confirm my suspicion a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
which is that this was Don Lemon's idea. And maybe it wasn't his idea. Maybe it was, maybe it was a combination of him and her. Maybe, there was a little bit of, hey, we're going to be doing a protest on this day, right? And then a little bit of idea from Don Lemon. I don't know. This is entirely speculation. But go ahead and sue me, Don Lemon, because I don't care. Regardless, I think that this was his idea. I think that the protest was probably already going to happen. And I think that maybe he was like, you guys should do it in a church or something along those lines. Because he wanted something to go viral. He wanted to be relevant again for 5 minutes,
He's been doing that.
Yeah, this is very clearly him not seeing protesters and reporting on what they're doing. He was invited to this. He knows ahead of time what he's going to do. And for those wondering, the reason why this is not relevant First Amendment action or material or whatever is because, one, there's a law against this in Minnesota specifically. You cannot protest inside of a church. Two, a church is private property.
The First Amendment protects religion, so you can't shut down a place of faith.
And number three is churches are protected by the First Amendment the same as freedom of speech. They're on the same level. And so you can't, it's one does not override the other. Your First Amendment is against the government, not your right to say whatever you want anywhere. If the church doesn't want you there, you have no right to be there. The First Amendment does not give you that right.
Yeah.
So do you think that we're going to see more of it?
Yeah, it was pretty successful. It had made national coverage.
It did make national
their whole goal
coverage.
Is to agitate.
It did get national coverage, and of course they expected it to be, negative press. But
they scared a bunch of little kids and moms, and that are probably going to be. They want you to think twice before you live your comfortable life, quote unquote, and go to church. They want you looking over your shoulder. They wanted to send a message that nowhere is safe. There is nowhere safe. You can't hide from these maniacs. They're coming for you.
Yeah, she said that this was successful last time too. First of all, I've never heard of the group, so. And I've never seen them do something like this, so clearly it wasn't that successful. This is probably more successful in the sense that, yes, we do all know about it now. But what are you hoping to gain from this? Because right now, the only thing it seems that they are gaining from this, besides the negative attention, is potentially charges.
No, they are gaining quite a bit, dude. They're gaining intimidation factor. They're trying to intimidate Christians from going to church.
I don't think that's going to work.
That's what they're doing.
Like, did they intimidate those people there in that moment? Yes. But long term, I don't think they're intimidating.
If you're like a churchgoer and you know these people are around, and you're like, man, I don't want to expose my kids to all this cussing and a guy screaming at them, getting up in their face. Like, I don't want them to be around that, So I guess we'll pray from home. Like, it's going to prevent them from gathering. And it's the same crap they did during COVID, where you could go out and riot, but you couldn't go to church. It's all attacks.
It's all what?
It's all attacks on Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's interesting is the way that this has morphed, right? It's no longer about Renee Good at all. Like, there was no mention of her there. In fact, there was mention of the fact that there was, quote, so many white people there that it looked kind of MAGA. What is this? What does this protest have to do with Black Americans? At all?
It doesn't have anything to do.
Illegal immigration arguably hurts Black Americans more than it hurts anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You would think they would be in favor of ICE.
No, but did you hear they were a BLM movement?
Well, she talked about things they did previously in the BLM movement, but that's what I'm saying. What does this have to do with any of that? And I know the answer, right? It's what you were talking about at the beginning of the episode. It's all the same stuff. I'm just pointing it out. That this has nothing to do with Renee Good anymore. It almost has nothing to do with ICE anymore, because a clip I played last night on the show was what's his name? Who's the main guy on Fox now ever since Tucker left? Does the late night.
Oh, Waters?
No, Gutfeld. It was a clip of Gutfeld, and he was saying that none of this had to do with ICE. None of it had to do with Renee Good or the killing. None of it has to do with Donald Trump even. And his claim was that it was about suicidal empathy and lonely young women, basically. Which is clearly a factor in at least the first half of this. What we're seeing here is a transition into something else completely. But I think that he's right and you're right. None of this has to do with any of that, and it's all just about the same old stuff. It's all just about agitation.
I'm going to say it 1,000 times. Maybe anyone out there that has a counterpoint or agrees with Chris, let me know. But I believe that they use whatever makes national attention, and then they use that to push their cause. And it has never had anything to do with George Floyd or the guy. They were saying hands up, don't shoot. It literally made no sense. They did that. Remember in England, the agitators in England, the police don't carry guns in England, and they were doing these BLM protests, marching down the street saying hands up, don't shoot, and they don't even carry guns. So it's always about what they can manipulate it to be, and that's all that's happening here. And if they intentionally went after the church, they don't practice Christianity. They're telling you what your faith is. You shall know them by their fruits. We're going into the temple. We're don't step over. You just picked a random church. First of all, the significance of Jesus going into the temple in Jerusalem was that's where you had to make your sacrifice. It was the most important place in Judaism, right? Right now, the Jews that live today don't even practice what the Jews back then practiced, because now it's called rabbinic Judaism, and they follow what their rabbi says. Before, they had a whole set of laws, and they had to follow those. And when the temple got destroyed, their entire religion got destroyed with it, because it was all built through the temple. But that's a separate argument or a separate conversation. They're going after all the churches, anything they can, because Christianity is the one thing that brings people together en masse, right? You can be Black, you can be white, you can be conservative, you can be liberal, and you can be glued together through Christianity. And they recognize that. And so they're creating that was an attack on the church. And them saying it's almost like if the devil were to tell you he was a Christian. That's literally the equivalent of what that guy did, going in there. Don Lemon, a gay man married to another man. He's not married, by the way. He's
right.
There's no such thing as two men get married or two women get married. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's you could call it a legal marriage or whatever you wanted to, but without going down that road. This is supposedly the profile of the guy that was taking that video. It doesn't appear to be true.
I ain't him.
Most of these
that looks like a Latino fella.
Well, yeah, this clearly isn't him. Which people do use fake photos all the time on X, including.
I ain't him. Is that what his name is?
Yeah,
he's getting too many people.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm not the guy you're looking for, but I am holding this. Yeah, okay. So, but this is what everybody said. I just asked Grok because I didn't have any idea. His name is William Scott Kelly, apparently. And he is a self-proclaimed combat infantry veteran with PTSD. Apparently,
he's definitely
he
retarded.
has raised money on GoFundMe before to help him scold demons for their bad life decisions. It amazes me what leftists donate to.
Yep.
Let's see. Let me try Googling him. Williams. Oops.
So he's just a mentally retarded guy who they were able to draw into this thing and make him feel like he has a purpose again. Instead of doing any actual good, he went and yelled and screamed at a bunch of children.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I just, and see, this is the question, right? The lady that was leading that protest, she doesn't believe any of the stuff that she's telling these people she's doing this for, right? She is one of these people that understands the bigger mission. Now, she might not.
And money. You talk about the emotional thing real quick. I hate to cut you off. Sorry. But the emotional thing real quick is there's so much money involved in this. They set up these little groups to donate to us and we're going to fight the cause. And then they'll come out the video of them like harassing people on the street or something. It's a money scam, dude. BLM all went to the top people. That did nothing to help black people anywhere.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. Poor black people get exploited all over the place in this country by black agitators.
The truth is even deeper than that, because we always, and this is one of conservatives' problems, right? Is we focus on, and I'm guilty of it too, because I've done it many times on this show, talking about BLM specifically. And the people in charge of the organization, obviously they enriched themselves off it, right? But that's not where even the bulk of the money went. The bulk of the money goes to the machine. The bulk of the money is to further
the Democratic machine. Yeah.
You can call it the Democratic machine. We can call it the Progressive machine. We can call it the WEF. We can call it any number of things. It has many names. There are many NGOs and organizations designed to funnel that money. Ultimately, it's all one thing at the top, right? It's like a pyramid scheme, right? There's the top, and then every layer it just widens out further and further, and everything's designed to funnel up. And that's what they have corporations that they steal the money through. They have NGOs that they steal the money through, donations that they steal the money through, any number of ways. Government, of course, we're finding out they're stealing lots of money through taxpayers. But the money is going to the machine because that's how you actually make these changes.
But all of this, most of these like protest groups have something like a GoFundMe or some way to crowdfund money, and that is like the purpose to a lot of the higher ups. And then you have the mid-level idiots who emotionally get wrapped up into this, like you were saying. And then you have the people like I want to say it's 30 to 40% on any given protest who are literally there to have fun. You see big smiles on their faces. They're saying, "Whoa!" They tear down stuff. They're throwing rocks at cars. Like if you look at that video of when they bashed into that ice truck, those guys were having the time of their life. And the guy that went and got that gun, they got arrested for it, was an MS-13 member.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, and so guys like that, I think, are the opportunists. I would say in any time Antifa is there, I would agree that it's a large percentage that are just there to cause chaos for fun. Because that is, like Antifa, for example, that is their goal, is to cause chaos. They don't have no specific goal besides anarchy and chaos. That is their entire...
If that guy thinks he came in there and helped convert anybody to his cause going to a church like that, apparently this guy, he also went to Pete Headfest. Anyway, let's get to the next segment because I'm pissed.
Really? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I'm a little angry about this one.
Hang on, there we go. All right, we can move on.
I'm just picturing my grandma in her church, and these people come. She would have freaking had an anxiety panic attack. And she was poor, dude. Like most of the people at the churches that I've been to out here, they're poor people. And the idea that you would go there and scream and yell at them for having something, and then make up lies. They're putting kids. He literally said they're putting kids in cages. They used literally every tagline, lie, chant that they could think of. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You want to introduce our next segment here? We'll do the weather related one. We'll take a look at the weather report.
Oh, is it climate cringe?
Climate cringe.
Climate cringe.
There you go. That's how you get the enthusiasm behind it.
Oh no, you're gonna go climate cringe.
All right. I'm not gonna bother bringing it up on screen for the viewers because it is just a article rather than a video. But this is the latest.
Put the article up. I think people like that.
All right, I'll put it up.
You put the article up. Yeah.
This is the latest kind of angle that again, the same group of people when we're talking about the top. This is climate change is just another angle that they collect money through, that they generate anxiety through, and that they push policy through. It's all tentacles of the same.
And you tell them that you can help. They say you can help. Just give this money.
Yep.
Send $5. I know you can't do anything, but we can. Give us $5. Send us $10, and we'll fix the world. And then you see where all the money goes, and into fucking losers' pockets. That's where it goes.
Matter of fact, there we go. Now the viewers can probably read it. So anyway, this is their latest one. The world has entered a new era of water bankruptcy with irreversible consequences. A big point of these is always the terminology, right? What comes to mind when you hear water bankruptcy? Because this is a new term that they're introducing.
That you can't spend. Oh, we had some written down. Mother Earth went on a spending spree. Mother Earth got Father Time's credit card. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those very non-specific terms. It means nothing from a scientific perspective. It's just...
Yeah, it's literally just a buzzword term.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah, it's just to cause anxiety. What? We're out of water? What do you mean we're out of water? This planet is 97 or 98% water or whatever it is. Maybe it's less than that. That's the body. The body is 98% water. But it's 70, 80% water, whatever it is. We're not out of water. Now, we can run out of water in places that we need it at a specific time.
Like drinking water.
But that's it.
Yeah, but like the water processing plants, you just need to build more of those. But that does contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. So,
yeah, it's almost like
people drink,
it's almost like they're contradicting rules are the reason we have these problems in the first place. We can't build desalination plants because that generates greenhouse gas emissions, and we might, kill a lizard that nobody's ever heard of, or a spider.
Yeah, that's one. And like, I think Trump laid it up pretty good a few years ago, where he said, you bribe these people. They'll say that you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. And then they get a huge check to their organization. And they'll be like, well, we found a way that you wouldn't hurt them. It's all holding people hostage for the land or wherever they're trying to operate.
Yeah, it's just, it's a mob tactic, right? Pay the fee and you can proceed. If not, we're going to stop you in any way possible. So anyway, the world
I don't like them.
The world has entered an era of global water bankruptcy with irreversible consequences. Well, if they're irreversible, there's nothing we can do and might as well move on. According to the new United Nations report. When has the United Nations, a United Nations report ever been correct about anything? Can you think of, like, anything? We might have to look into that.
It'd be funny
someday.
if the United Nations came out and they're like, we've decided that we don't actually need us. So, it's funny. They talk about like attacking democracy. I mean, they have huge power in Europe, right? And I'm thinking of the European Union. But they have huge power in Europe, and they're not elected. Isn't that crazy? Like these people that talk about threats to democracy and all of that, none of them are elected officials.
Yep, that's true of the EU and the United Nations.
Yep.
Yeah, and who was it? Pramila Jayapal or Rashida Tlaib, one of them tried to make America beholden to the UN's rules. So anytime the UN made a rule, all American citizens would have to respond to it. If the UN decided that guns were banned, if the UN decided guns were banned, that would supersede the Constitution. This was a bill that was actually introduced in Congress.
Mm-hmm. They've tried to get rid of American supremacy for a long time, and they've tried to use any opportunity they can to do so. And I guarantee any American that pushes for that and becomes successful in making us beholden, because all their policies are going to do is limit American power. That's what they will be. That's what they've tried to do. They're constantly trying to show up American power. We just give them the big old middle finger for it. Any one of our politicians that goes ahead and is successful in doing that, they're all going to be billionaires afterwards. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the plan, or at least the goal. But money is how you get things done in this world, and so that's that. All right.
Yep.
Regions across the world are afflicted by severe water problems. Kabul may be on course to be the first modern city to run out of water. Mexico City is sinking at the rate of around 20 inches a year as the vast aquifer beneath its streets is overpumped. In the U.S., Southwest states are locked in continual battle over how to share the shrinking water of the drought-stricken Colorado River. The global situation is so severe that terms like water crisis or water stressed fail to capture its magnitude. So, of course, we came up with something worse. Let's see.
Made some shit up.
Yeah. Failed to capture its magnitude. According to the report published Tuesday by the United Nations University and based on a study in the journal Water Resources. If you keep calling this situation a crisis, you're implying that it's temporary. It's a shock. We can mitigate it, said Kavi Madani, director of the UN's University Institute for Water, Environment, and Health, and the report's author. Shocking. With bankruptcy, while it's still vital to fix and mitigate where possible, you also need to adapt to a new reality, to new conditions that are more restrictive than before, he told CNN. Now that, generally speaking, is the correct attitude, right? If there is some shifts that have happened, we just have to adapt to them. There is no fixing it, right? But something tells me that's not what he actually means. The concept of water bankruptcy works like this. Nature provides income in the form of rain and snow, but the world is spending more than it receives, extracting from its rivers, lakes, wetlands, and underground aquifers at a much faster rate than they are replenished, putting us in debt. Climate change-fueled heat and drought are compounding the problem, reducing available water. The result is shrinking rivers and lakes, dried up wetlands, declining aquifers, crumbling land in sinkholes, the creep of desertification, a dearth of snow, and melting glaciers. The statistics in the report are stark. More than 50% of the planet's large lakes have lost water since 1990. 70% of major aquifers are in long-term decline. An area of wetlands almost the size of the European Union has been erased over the past 50 years, and glaciers have shrunk 30% since 1970. Even in places where water systems are less strained, pollution is reducing the amount of available drinking water. Now, that is absolutely true and a problem. It's important to note, though, when they say things like 50% of the planet's large lakes have lost water since 1990, that entirely depends on what year you decide to take the sample. Because as we know, we had some very hot years from 2020 to 2024 or 2023, whatever it was. There were 3 particularly hot years. California had severe drought. California's had more rain this year than it's like had in 100 years. It changes all the time. It's not, and the same thing with the glaciers have shrunk 30%. That might be true, but it's also true that there is more ice at the peak of the winter than any time in the last 100 years. These little bits of information like this, they're almost meaningless because you don't have a complete picture of everything that matters.
Yeah.
Many regions are living beyond their hydrological means, Alan, and it's impossible now to return to conditions that used to exist.
Oh no, sarcastic voice is back. No.
It brings human consequences. Nearly 4 billion people face water scarcity for at least 1 month every year. Yeah, it's called summer. Yet instead of recognizing the problem and adjusting consumption, water is taken for granted, and credit lines keep increasing. He referred to cities like Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and Tehran, where expansion and development have been encouraged despite limited water supplies. There is no limit of water for Vegas. The only reason that there is limited water is because California steals it all.
No, they've been doing that. Did you in like the 1920s or 30s, they stole all the land from the orange groves that are nearby California and sent that water, I forget the name of the reservoir, but they sent that water 200 miles into Los Angeles and made a fortune. That's the people we're dealing with.
Yeah, apparently too, I didn't know this, but apparently I think it was LA itself, like, was a big ass lake before they built the city there. They literally had to divert
The
that
center of
water.
California. There used to be a big lake in California. I always thought it was like thousands. That's the big valley there. And I always thought that was thousands of years old. But apparently that was there when
when we
they went
started
there during the gold rush.
Yeah,
They
when we
talked about
started
it.
moving in there, they literally diverted the water so that they could build there.
Yep.
It's almost like you could divert it back if you wanted to. When Trump said during the wildfires that he was going to divert more water down there and everyone made fun of him, you can't get water out of nothing. No, it actually does work that way. They do actually divert water down these channels. Anyway, the U.S. The U.S. Southwest is another hotspot, according to the report. Madani pointed to the Colorado River, where water sharing agreements are based on an environmental situation that no longer exists. Drought has shrunk the river. But it's not a temporary crisis, he said. It's a permanent new condition, and we have less water than before. The findings are alarming, but recognizing water bankruptcy can help countries move from short-term emergency thinking to long-term strategies to reduce irreversible damage. The report calls for a series of actions, including transforming farming, by far the biggest global user of water, through shifting crops and more efficient irrigation, better water monitoring using AI and remote sensing, reducing pollution, and increasing protection for wetlands and groundwater. All right, we don't really need to read any further. Those are the solutions that they suggest. How do you feel about those?
I think they're completely made up, and they sound like ways to get money into the pockets of politicians who will manipulate the construction codes and the building codes and take bribes. And we all know they're dirtiest. That is the dirtiest section of our government. A lot of people think it's with the banking or something. It is with the contractors or the government oversight committees that see the contractors. They find legal ways for corruption.
Right.
And then second even would be the stock market losers, because that's technically legal. Did you know that? That's technically legal. All that insider trading. I know that I'm going to pass this bill. And some of them, I bet, they just pass the dang bill so that they can get ahead on the stock market.
I don't know.
I don't like them.
You're talking about in Congress, their inside trading is legal.
They find ways to make it legal. Like you tell somebody else that's why it should be like a confidentiality thing. There should be a punishment for that. Like, I mean, Nancy Pelosi's husband, he can go out and have all the gay orgies he wants, and then just hit the trade thing.
Right. And
If
that's
you
why
follow him,
that's why Nancy Pelosi's husband is the one that makes all the trades, because how are you going to prove that she told him the information she's privileged to?
Yep.
But yeah, as far as the water thing is concerned, you have to buy that this is a problem in the first place. And like California has a water problem, absolutely, but it's entirely a mismanagement problem, not a actual shortage of water. There's no such thing as a shortage of water. There's just a shortage of water in the right place at the right time, which in the case of California, at least, is a management problem. In the case of Tehran, might very well be a U.S. military problem or somebody's military problem. But sure, like it can be an issue in places. There's no doubt about that at different times. But the things that they offered to me, they're fine as far as solutions, reducing pollution, right? That's one of those things though, where you say it like, we're going to reduce pollution. Well, what does that actually mean? We can't stop burning oil, for example. Our entirety of modern society depends on it. So
almost all of their propositions involve making them money. That's what they care about.
Yeah, it's always about finding the money. There's no doubt about that. But doing things like more efficient irrigation, right? That's a great solution. If you can find a way to more efficiently move water, especially if it's cheaper, great. But you can't make it 10 times more expensive, which is the way in which they go about it to do exactly what you're saying in order to make money off of the new solution. To use less water, then fine. But it can't be to make you money. It has to be to actually benefit the society. Monitoring with AI, remote sensing, is all fine. Increasing protection of wetlands and groundwater. That one is a big red flag to me, because what does that mean? That means government taking more land from the people. That's all that means.
Yeah. And then like selling it to China.
Yeah, or to corporations or whatever.
All
right. I say we move on to the next topic, our next segment.
All right, let's hit it.
What do we got? Covered climate cringe. We covered the Lamona Lisa.
Yeah, man.
I think it's time.
I know you're a big fan. I know you're a big fan of Don Lemon, but
I'm feeling kind of hungry, and I'm thinking we should, if you want to, after or right now, we could head down to the International House of Fruitcakes.
Oh,
there would be some cute music playing right now and a little card on the screen, right? Just picture it.
Yeah, we need a better segue for that. Welcome to the International House of Fruitcakes.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
That'll do it. All right.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
This is Howard Lucknick, who is our current Commerce Secretary, and he is speaking at the WEF, the World Economic Forum. So literally the home of all of these pretentious progressive elites.
Oh, I like this guy. Yeah.
Before this, I had
started a much higher level.
Well, I like the clip that you're going to share.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think you should start at a much higher level.
Okay.
We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is
the WEF.
Export,
I love how he calls them that.
offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew.
Keep in
you
mind,
should have
he's talking
solar,
to
you
the
should
WEF.
have wind.
He's talking
Why
to these
are you
people
going
directly.
to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
Boy, you can see when you look at the faces of everybody else standing there that they are pissed, right? Because
I wish we could get a clip of what the heck they responded to that with, if that was available. But no, it's like there's this concept that borders are imaginary lines. And that's true.
Well,
they only exist or function because there's men with guns on the other side that say, don't come here. Don't cross that line. Oh, you got a little piece of paper that says you're welcome? Come on in, buddy. Come on in.
Yeah, and what's interesting here, we made let me rephrase that. I made fun of Donald Trump, and especially the Trump supporters. They were always talking about 4D chess during the first Trump administration, right? This is all a game of 4D chess. Trump's thinking 10 steps ahead of him. You know, he's going to take back the White House.
Warfare.
They stole the election, and so Trump's going to stay in the White House and all of these things, right? It was all nonsense. It was never true. However, I think this time there is something to it. And I think that we are seeing that chess game play out now. And it's not necessarily a secret, but all of these moves, Venezuela, Iran, the tariffs, all of these are part of a bigger strategy, which literally is America First. He is taking us out of that globalist system, and this is what he was elected for. This is why we elected him. He is taking us out of that globalist system. He is bringing us back to being the actual dominant country in the world that is self-sufficient and does not need the rest of the world, but is happy to, to work with whoever is willing to work with us. And he's telling Europe via Lutnick here in this clip, and he himself in other clips or other times, is telling Europe, do this too, come with us. And I don't think Lutnick is actually, he's there talking to the WF, he's talking to those world leaders. I don't think that's who that speech is for. I think that speech is for Europeans. And he's pointing out,
I think he stopped giving a crap. Like what you're saying about the 3D chess, I think he was... Dude, if you look at his cabinet, there were some leftists up in there, dude. They had no conservative values at all. And I think this time he picked his team much better. And I think he got to the point where I think there was a little bit of him in the first administration that cared what people thought. That's why he didn't try to make peace with Russia, and he really distanced himself from Russia because of the Russia scandal. And now, I just don't think he gives a crap. Hey, they're gonna, I think all conservatives kind of did this, where it's like, oh, you're just always gonna call us Nazis, you're always gonna call us racist. okay, that's the way we're operating. I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway, and you can chirp. And that's why the left has stepped it up so much. They're going to your church. They're accosting you in the street. They're screaming at your children. You know,
Well, and it's
we
because
can't. I mean,
those
and they
very
know it's
people.
because leftists love. They abide by law and order, right? That's one thing that makes us they know that the leftists know that conservatives abide by law and order, and we're constitutionalists, and so they'll attack you with their very limited understanding of Christianity. They try to use the Bible to attack you, and if you're not a robust Christian who understands like the Bible deeply and what these verses mean, you can be waylaid by this crap, you know.
Right.
Hey Jesus, do you think it would be good if you went and started screaming at children in the house of the Lord, in the house of your Father? No, Jesus, no. That was no. Don't be doing that.
Well,
You know.
I think too that it's also important to recognize this is Trump's final act. This is his last term as president. He's also almost 90. This is the last great thing that Trump's going to do with his life, and so I think that on top of his after everything that happened in 2020, it's also him thinking about his legacy, right? And so I don't think there's anything that is going to stop him from doing what he believes in the long term will have history look most favorably on him. He doesn't really care what the leftists are going to say now because, like you said, he doesn't care anymore. What he's concerned about...
Yeah, I think you just stopped giving a crap.
...is what we're going to see long term, I think.
All right, do we have another video?
Well, you wanted to see how they responded to Luck, Nick. I think I have a video of that here.
Wait.
Let me check before I bring it on screen here.
Right.
Yep, I do.
Wait.
I don't have a time stamp ready for this, so I'm going to just back it up to the end of his speech here. We might play a little bit of what we just heard, but bear with us a second and it'll pan out.
My national security people to address.
Right. The rest of us, I think, are finding it harder to make that kind of separation clearly. And I would be curious to know how the representatives of the UK and Canada might want to think about these issues. Do you see them as starkly divided, as Secretary Lucknick would like us to have them? Does this logic of what's good for America is good for the world convince in this extraordinarily strong, extremely eloquent expression that we've just heard?
You go first.
Thanks, Francois.
Notice he's complimenting him. Disagreeing, but complimenting.
I'm very struck by and taken by the idea of putting your own country first and considering your own security and resilience. I think it's about 3 years ago now that I gave a speech where I coined the term securonomics, which is all about building security and resilience in your economy. And the days when it didn't matter where things were made and who made them were in the past. And that's become increasingly clear since the pandemic, when we were over-reliant on PPE and medicines from abroad. And then again, when Russia invaded Ukraine because of what happened to oil and gas prices. I guess for an economy like the UK, the way in which we will pursue our national interest is going to be different from the way in which the US pursues theirs. You are a much bigger economy, and we can't do everything on our own, and nor should we try to, because we'd end up doing nothing well. But we do have real strengths in the UK.
You do it through the
in our defence sector, in life sciences, in business and financial services. But we do rely on our allies as well. And even a country as big and as strong as America also relies on its allies. And I guess the sort of area where I think that we do need to sort of continue that dialogue between countries that share each other's values is how we can work together in our mutual interests to advance our values in a very unstable and uncertain world. And you know, if you say, could you picture the world without the US and what would the world be like? Yeah, the world would be a lot poorer and it would be a lot scarier. But you've also got a lot of allies around the world in the United States, Britain. I know. I hope.
Not
I believe
great
is your strongest ally.
Allies when our interests align. That's the way they've always operated.
Thank you very much. Feeling is mutual, but we do need to think about where the threats are and who our friends are. And I think that's probably more stark for smaller economies. But even for the US, when you think about, I was in the States, as you know, last week for a meeting of G7 plus a few other finance ministers to talk around critical minerals. Now, you do have some reserves of critical minerals, but not everything you need. 90% of your critical minerals at the moment come from the US, from China. You need to wean yourself off those.
Sure.
Yeah, but you won't be able to do that without the help of Canada and Australia and other countries. And so for all of your strengths,
South America in particular,
we do also need to think how we can preserve some of the things that the US has benefited from in the NATO alliance and the Western alliance, not because it is the benevolent or the right thing to do, but because I profoundly believe it is in your country's national interest. The other thing I just wanted to say, Adam, in terms of sort of building security and resilience, but for my country, it's about our industrial strategy, where we're really focusing on these sectors where we are really good. But we're not going to be a semiconductor.
I'm going to try and skip ahead to the next guy.
That's
I
not
don't
realistic.
think she's going to say anything.
Yeah, life sciences, biotech,
I guess.
financial services.
To figure out.
No, I think it's really interesting how he, because of how well he delivered that, and because he kind of put them in the position of having to agree, otherwise they're going to look, you know, those clips are going to look terrible to their own people. They immediately meet him where he's at. Instead of trying to backtrack and bring him back to this progressive globalist ideal, they're like, yeah, you know, we need to do that. They're having to agree when I don't think they want to.
You know, the way forward. And one thing, and goes back to our word, I think that the world see a better, clearer nexus between food security, energy security, economic security, and national security. I can tell you as finance minister, I've never talked as much about national security as we did before, for some of the reason that ours was mentioning. You know, we've become too reliant and less resilient. So how do we build resilience in the system, I think has been a significant thing. And nostalgia is never a good strategy. You know, I keep saying we're entering the second quarter of the 21st century. And the next 25 years and beyond is not going to be like the last 25. So you cannot look at the past to try to chart the future. And I'd say the 3S, which I call the speed, scope, and scale of change, is quite unprecedented. You know, some would say you have to go back to 1945, the fall of the Berlin Wall. It's everything. It's geoeconomic, geopolitics, supply chain. It's AI, it's quantum. It's a lot of things at the same time. And when you realize that, as we've done, is how do we, between partners, allies, and friends? You look at Canada. I mean, geography has made us partners, allies, and friends. We've been blessed by geography. We share the continent. We've been trading with each other. We've been exchanging. Actually, we're one of the biggest customers of the United States. We buy more from the U.S. than China, Japan, and the U.K. combined. So 2/3 of the United States of Canada is their first export market. So we've built that integration. But what Howard was making a point, and Rachel, is that within that, we also need to build more resilience in the system. You know, we had to do a step change. How we're going to be, a major supplier in terms of critical minerals, in terms of energy, the things that will matter for the future. And what we need now is scope and scale, because I think what we're facing now is a rupture point where we need to change the future together. And I would say, when I look at Canada, we're still a big magnet for talent. I mean, like the United Kingdom, Rachel
we don't like your freaking vision of the future, right? You've completely gotten rid of the natural order of humanity, and you're trying to restructure it. You're trying to force it. You're bending it into your ideological framework, and it's breaking and snapping, and we're getting a lot of pushback from it when we actually had it going pretty good. But because you are ideologically captured, you POS, I'm talking to you, Chris. No, because you're ideologically captured, you're negating all of the shattering and breaking, and eventually, this is what's going to happen. You're going to lose your grip, and it's going to snap back. Okay, and I think when we see the rise of these like white nationalist types, speaking of certain people, or white identitarian types, they're recruiting the next generation. They're recruiting young people because they saw what the boomers did to them. They said, wow, you let all of this happen. We had the greatest country. That's why the nostalgia exists. We had the greatest country in the world. We're the only successful multiracial country in the world. And we were successful. Like, that's very important. Okay. There were fringe elements of problems, but for the most part, dude, just look at freaking Ireland. They had sectarian violence because one side was Protestant, one side was Catholic, and they're blowing each other up. You know, we had a way to live and function in that. And your solution, by trying to import all of these, and I hate using the term woke, but importing all of these woke or implementing all of these woke policies, destroyed that fabric because by nature it's identitarian, and you force people to act according. Can you imagine? Like that was like an insult. Yeah, you're not acting black. Like if a white person came up to a black guy that's over there reading a book, and why you acted so white? You remember that crap? They got shouted down by other people because it's a stupid way to think. Instead of like dealing with stuff and trying to integrate everybody into a Christian, successful, multicultural framework, not multicultural, single cultural. You try to make it multicultural. You played on people's tribalism. You amplified, you threw gasoline on the tribalist mindset of human beings. And now you're facing the consequences of it. And not to mention, you demonized one party there. You demonized one group of people, and nobody likes that shit. Nobody likes that shit. And it's not gonna be as successful as you think it is. It's going to get bloody. You keep going into churches like that. I remember a year ago, I was talking with a conservative friend of mine, and I said, dude, they're going to start going into churches and stuff. And he's like, they would never, dude, would never do that. Like, I literally just remember this. He has such a fantasy view of, like, no, they abide by law and order, and they do this and that, and it's law and order. And they're trying to advance the cause. They don't, but
they only abide by law and order in so much as it benefits them, in so much as abiding by law and order forces conservatives to. But as soon as it's no longer benefiting them, they have no problem breaking it.
If you think there's a line they won't cross, you are kidding yourself. You're living in a fantasy. Any line they will cross. Admit, like the guys that went out and murdered those police officers a few years ago. You remember that? How many cops died in that? There were 2 sitting in the car in New York, and he did it because Black Lives Matter. And then there was like a guy that went and shot a bunch of cops up because cops are inherently evil. And I think he was a former cop, if I'm not mistaken. And it's important to remember, like, these guys all had a breaking point. They snapped, right? They had some big event that happened in their life that caused them to go violent, and it was because they've been consuming all of this stuff. They decided to go that way. Other people, they just shoot themselves, right? Which is like the best outcome for a crazy, like somebody, instead of like going out and shooting a bunch of people, innocent people, just take yourself out of the picture.
Yeah, if that's going to be your alternative, sure.
But they gave them an avenue for that. And there's a reason that when you see these leftists, they're very emotionally unstable. They act crazy. That's who they're recruiting. That's who they're appealing. And they're hoping that they go out and do something.
Yeah.
Right? They go, hey, don't be out there committing violence,
Yeah, I mean they know what they're doing when Waltz is on TV saying that that don't worry, the National Guard is going to wear yellow vests so that you can tell them apart from Border Patrol. Well, why would they need to wear yellow vests if the leftists are not trying to harm the Border Patrol? Well, it's because they are trying to harm the Border Patrol, and they need a way to tell who's the good guys according, from their perspective, and who's the bad guys. I mean, that in and of itself is a tell, right? Like, there's no reason for them to wear yellow vests if leftists aren't out there to harm law enforcement, but they are. That's the whole purpose of them being out there. So it's like you're saying, they know exactly what they're doing as far as trying to rile up these crazies, and it works best. The crazies, riling up the crazies works best for them because it gives them deniability. Because as soon as something happens, what do they say? You can't pin that on us. It's just a crazy person. Yeah, but what gave the crazy person the idea?
Fed. Yeah, that's been fed into your crazy ideology.
Yeah, like the guy that said I literally did this because Tim Waltz told me to. the state senator or whatever that he killed.
Yeah, if you rally, I mean, yeah, and that's why they don't like insane asylums, first of all. That's why they're so absolutely horrified by the concept of insane asylums or bringing them back.
Well, yeah, that was part of the point of getting rid of them, as well as dumping more criminals on the street by, no cash bail and all of these things, because it just increases their likelihood of something happening. It's rather impressive, given all of the ways in which they have undermined the security and the social order of our society. It's rather impressive how contained it's actually been. Which is not to say that there hasn't been problems, of course. There obviously is right now. But the fact that it's not in every major liberal city right now being burned down is a real testament to how strong this nation's morals, this nation's values, and this nation's system of government actually is. Because it should be a lot worse than it is. If this was Europe, it would be a lot worse.
I'm yeah, I don't like him. We'll just leave it there.
There you go. All right. Let's move on. We'll look more into this World Economic Forum thing for you, or at least I will. And if there's anything else to report, I'll get back to you guys on that.
Yeah, I did a horrible job keeping up with the segments today. It was the first time. We'll get.
It's all good. Let's move on to our last story. And that is, meanwhile, in Mexico. See, we need some Spanish music now.
Mexico, take me home to the place. I'm gonna go West Virginia on an airplane. Mexico, Mexican, take me home.
So this video here that we're going to play, this is going to introduce the topic a little bit. But this is because there was no specific video for us. And so this is the one that we chose to go with because it'll introduce the topic and has some interesting points. It does not, don't believe what it says. Trump has not actually directly ordered military strikes into Mexico. As we'll find out, it's just a clickbait title. As we'll find out, this goes to Trump's remarks.
Need to start doing those. We need to start doing clickbait titles.
I'm trying to grift as hard as I can here. It's not working.
Man, you gotta get that grift working. You're too freaking honest. Mexico, the leftists are so easy. It's so easy for them to lie about crap. That's how they shoot up. They'll be like, Trump just declared war on the American people. Trump just murdered a bunch of babies in Washington. And you're just like, wow, what? And then you watch and you're like, oh, they're lying. But they get the click.
Oh, he just said all these things and offered absolutely no evidence to back them up. It must be true.
Or they go to an expert that never has any degree or title. But he's literally expert. And then the guy will be like, I think Trump is going to be murdering babies.
Yeah, he's literally
in
just wearing a
Minnesota.
lab coat or glasses.
Yeah, he's got a lab coat. They get the guy from Ancient Alien. He just goes everywhere. Just the guy with the crazy ear from Ancient Aliens.
Yeah.
That guy, he'll say
He'll
whatever
do
you pay
anything
him
for
to.
$500. Anything. All right.
Yeah, I don't like him.
First U.S. ground strike on ally since 1916. President Donald Trump's January 8, 2026, Fox News declaration, we're going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels, sent shockwaves through Mexico, signaling potential first U.S. ground operations on Mexican soil since 1916. The threat followed the U.S. Delta Force's capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in Caracas. From sea to land, Trump's expanding war. Operation Southern Spear, initiated in September 2025, conducted over 35 maritime strikes, eliminating 115 plus suspected traffickers, according to U.S. Southern Command. Trump's threats could shift focus to cartel strongholds in Sinaloa, Jalisco, and border states, where fentanyl production fuels over 100,000 annual U.S. overdose deaths. The White House justifies action under foreign terrorist organization designations for 6 Mexican cartels, established February 20th, 2025. Venezuela operation as blueprint. Operation Absolute Resolve in Caracas offers a model with 150 aircraft, Delta Force teams, and 70 to 100 casualties, according to Venezuelan reports. Military analysts identify numerous potential targets, including leadership compounds, fentanyl labs, and smuggling hubs. Assets ready include F-35 and F-22 fighters, drones, and special operations forces that could deploy within hours. Mexico's defiant response.
That's what I wanted.
President Sheinbaum has rejected Trump's requests for U.S. military intervention on Mexican soil. Mexico has deployed 10,000 National Guard troops to the border and accelerated trafficker extraditions. Sheinbaum is advancing constitutional amendments to ban foreign military operations while aligning economically with the United States. Legal and diplomatic minefield. Land strikes pose greater civilian casualty risks and potentially violate international law. The Senate advanced
no
a War
such
Powers
thing
Resolution
as international
52-47 on January 8, 2026 to curb unilateral military action. Experts question whether legal authorities extend to strikes in Allied territory without consent. Military operations could inflame public opinion in Mexico, where 78% oppose U.S. intervention. Economic stakes. Bilateral trade approaches $780 billion annually, making disruption potentially catastrophic. Ground operations could unravel trade agreements, trigger tariffs, and destabilize North American supply chains. What happens next? Trump's threats aim to pressure Mexico into more aggressive anti-cartel action. The question is whether Sheinbaum's diplomatic strategy can satisfy Washington before Trump makes good on threats that could reshape North American security for generations.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the basic.
With Borders are Tom Homan, who joins me now. Tom, thank you for.
Shut up. That's the basic kind of overlay of what Trump threatened. And as you saw there, they focused on drugs. But as we talked about with Venezuela, the drugs aren't the concern. Now, obviously, drugs are a concern, and we do want the drugs to stop flowing.
Well, I would say they're far more of the concern with Mexico than they are with Venezuela.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But the reason why the drugs are important is because of legal, the legal minefield, as the AI video put it, not what Trump is actually going after. He's not going after them because of the drugs. The drugs are a legal means to an end, which is going after the cartels, as well as going after Maduro in Venezuela. And here's why this is important. So Peter Schweitzer just wrote a book, and I highly recommend anybody that is listening to go read it. It is called The Invisible Coup, and it talks about the various leaders from Mexico, from Colombia, from Venezuela, from Brazil, as well as China, and some others, using illegal immigration as a means of destroying the United States. Now, there is a lot more involved than just these individuals. But it also, aside from the bigger picture of the Democrats wanting to let the illegals in because it gives them more power in elections, right? It also matters that these individual nations are trying to influence it as well. And according to Peter Schweitzer, who produces a lot of evidence, and I'm not going to present it all for you here. That's not what we're going to do. But I am going to just kind of lay out the general basics here. The Scheinbaum and her team, that ilk of the Mexican government, which, by the way, is the cartel. The Mexican government is the cartel. The cartels have controlled the government for a significant period of time. They are one and the same. Everything that the Mexican government does to go after the cartels are things the cartel allows them to do. Which is why, even though the more and more and more the Mexican military goes after the cartels, they continue to grow and gain power. It's so weird. It's almost like, but anyway.
How many were murdered by cartel members? How many, like, before she got elected? I think it was 20-something.
What?
People that she were purported to run against, Claudia Scheinbaum, were murdered by the cartel.
How many people are running for president of Mexico before Scheinbaum?
Yeah, that were gonna, like, political people that were against her, yeah.
During their campaigns. Yeah, it was a huge number, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just remember, like, every time you look at the news, there's one more got murdered.
The political violence during the 2024 election cycle primarily targeted local and regional candidates, with reports indicating 36 to 38 candidates assassinated across various levels of government. Why? Because these are the candidates that were not part of the group. These were the people on the inside. And Scheinbaum, who is working with the cartels and that group, right? Scheinbaum is not the head of this, just like Biden isn't the head of the Democrats.
No, but she's very supportive of the court. Like, any initiative, there's a Mexico Daily, I think is the name of the newspaper, had an article talking about how closely aligned she is. And people are even scared to talk out against her because how many reporters have been killed by the cartel in Mexico in the last 2 years?
Good question. And yeah, people should be scared to talk out against her. How many reporters have been killed in Mexico in the last 2 years? I also need to know what is Scheinbaum's right-hand man. I forget his name. Let's see. In the last 2 years, the number of journalists killed in Mexico has significantly decreased compared to the record-breaking 2022, according to Article 19, a press freedom organization. 5 journalists were killed in 2023. 2 were killed in 2024, bringing the total to 7 over the past 2 years. Despite the decline in killings, non-lethal attacks on journalists surged. 561. So who knows how many of those were potential killings? 561 such attacks in 2023 alone. That's a lot.
Yep. And it was everybody that spoke out for policies that went after the cartel. That's why we need to do something about it. Wait, is there any, like, has there ever been any American politicians threatened by the cartel? I mean, that we know of?
Any documented cases of America? I'm sure along the border there has been. But I'm sure that the FBI also keeps that pretty quiet too. I don't think so, though. I think generally speaking, they probably, maybe like some small city, border cities, like the city council members or something. But otherwise, I think they probably leave Americans alone because the American politicians, because they don't want, an aircraft carrier parked in the Gulf of America.
Mm-hmm.
There are no documented cases of American politicians being directly threatened by Mexican drug cartels in the provided search results. However, there is substantial evidence of cartels targeting U.S. law enforcement officials, federal agents, and communities. And yeah, I would bet that most of the threats first would be kept quiet by the FBI if it's to a significant politician, like at least state representative or above. But anything below that, we probably just don't hear about it. They either turn up dead or they just take the money and do whatever they were asked to do, right?
Yeah.
But according to Schweitzer, the Maria Sheinbaum and her group of people, including, I believe, Omar Garcia Harfouk, or however you pronounce it. I believe that is who it is. I might be incorrect about the person, but I think that's who it is. It's like her right-hand person. Openly talk about that they intend to take back the territory that Mexico lost to the United States. First of all, we bought a majority of it, but they obviously lost some from the war. They intend to take it back, and they intend to take it back through illegal immigration. They see every illegal Mexican in the United States, even legal, they see them as Mexicans. And that's why you see a lot of these people flying Mexican flags, because they are Mexicans that are in America. They are not Americans. And this is something that we have to take very seriously, because this is not Russia. This is not China. This is not somebody overseas. This is our southern neighbor that is literally plotting revenge, essentially, positioning themselves as an enemy. We see them as an ally, but they are apparently an enemy. And he provides a ton of evidence that supports this.
I got one. Like a good neighbor, stay over there.
Damn
no, what's funny is the Mexican. The Mexicans here, it's not taking with them. There's a lot of Mexicans that are super. I mean, they're almost overly patriotic to America to make up for the ones that are saying that crap.
Well, gee, and why wouldn't you be if that's
culture.
where you came from?
I saw some like with Mexican or American flag face tattoos and shit. And you're like, all right, man. I mean, I guess.
They look at those people though. These Sheinbaum and her ilk, they look at those people as traitors. They absolutely hate them. And this is true in Colombia. This is true in Brazil as well. And he mentioned some other places. But I think that this is the real. Again, the drugs are the excuse, and the drugs are important. It's not as if they're not important.
They're a good excuse.
But they are the excuse, and I think that this is really what's behind this. So that's kind of what I was talking about with the 4D chess thing, that all of these moves,
they're like working. How did they get through customs so easy in Mexico? Yeah. Because I think almost all of the ingredients to make fentanyl come from China. So how do they so easily get through that, if they're not working with them? They want to demoralize Americans. There's this large section of the globalist agenda that wants to demoralize Americans. It wants to kill them through fentanyl, through internal violence. Like when they see the stuff happening in Minnesota or like the riots that happened in June in Los Angeles, they celebrate, dude. They're cracking open the champagne and they flood social media like X with the most extremist rhetoric they can. They'll do it on both sides. Most extreme conservative thing, like kill everybody, kill all the illegals, no brown people. They push the white nationalist, right? Dude, there's one like Nazi channel, like certified Nazi channel on X, and they're not even from here. They're from Russia. And they're like American, white pride, American nationalism. Yeah.
Well, and like I had mentioned before, the drugs that we seize at the border, they represent, according to Border Patrol's own estimates, 10 to 15% of what actually makes it through. It's huge amounts of drugs. I'm talking, semi-trucks worth of drugs. Now, fentanyl is a little different because fentanyl is so concentrated, but that's not the only thing they traffic, right? They also traffic people. These do not just walk across the border. This is not smuggled in glove boxes and things like that. The stuff that is found at the border is stuff that was meant to be found. That's throwaway stuff that they literally put there to keep Border Patrol busy and to make them think that's what's going on. The real drugs, the real people, the real illicit materials are allowed to come through some other way. They have to be, or they wouldn't exist. Because if we wanted to secure our border, we could. Now, could we do it 100%? No, but we could do it a lot more than 10%, which is what it is.
Yeah. All right, man.
Just insane.
You got to close that segment?
Yeah. I'm going to look into this a little more, and I'll bring it back around, later this week, next week, whenever I have a little more information on it. But I just wanted to get it out there because it was incredibly interesting for me to hear that they discuss these things openly. There's songs about it, right? It's that much of an idea in these worlds, and these people are openly infiltrating our country as traitors to us, not to them. Every American needs to know that.
When we were having those riots, it didn't make the news, but they were anti-immigration riots in Mexico. They were they went after their own government because they said they were importing a bunch of foreigners. And I thought it was funny the way the news covered that, which they were like, yeah, it's national pride. But when there were riots in America, the next day they covered it completely different. White, racist, blah, 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 like the worst people in the world. They clearly have an agenda, and I think everyone sees it. I think it's just the retarded folks who either they're too slow to pick up on it, or they're ideologues and they don't care. And what their goal is to flip the pyramid on its head and think they're going to be on top. They don't realize there's going to be a reshuffling and everything settles back down, and it's going to be like the same place everywhere else. It's going to be a little bit of people that control it. And it's not going to be them.
Yep. Yeah. Well, do you have anything else that you need to throw into this episode?
No, I think we could save the daily church one for Friday, maybe.
The which one?
The devotionals. The daily devotional for young men.
Yeah, I figured we'd at least wait till we get the stingers and stuff set up for it. Which we should be able to do Friday. Expect us probably to take tomorrow off at the minimum, so that we can get some more of these things arranged and prepared, fix some of the issues that I had today. And then we'll be back probably Thursday, just based on what we tend to end up doing, whether we mean to or not, and definitely Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Where can they find you, Alan?
First Alan 2 on X, the American satirist.
And don't forget to check out our other co-host, Austin, at MillerTalk_pod on X and MillerTalk.substack.com. He has a great podcast over there, and he's started back up. If you were listening to him before, he took a break during December, essentially, but he is back doing it. So go check out his new episodes, and you can catch him here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with us as well. And you can find this show, JBU, anchor.fm/JBU, JBU_show on X, and we are on Rumble, Spotify, we are on Spotify, but not live streaming. Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, and X live streaming, And then the audio podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else podcasts are available. Alan, would you like to take us out with a prayer, sir?
All right. Dear Lord, we are in a troubling time in our country. Your house is being violated. Your followers are being persecuted. Your name is being used in a way that you would not approve of. Lord, they're trying to divide us every which way. They're trying to take away our dignity. They're trying to take away our humanity. Lord, please unify us. Please give us strength to endure all of their barbs and all of the things they say, any of the violence they commit upon us. Lord, give us the strength to go back to church every Sunday, Lord, and praise your name. Lord, we reach out to you in a very dark, troubling time that does not bode well for the future. Lord, we pray that you comfort our hearts. You give us strength to move our feet. Lord, you give us strength in our hands to do what needs to be done, and you steel our minds, Lord, so that we may see the true purpose. Everything is done for your glory, God. You use us all to your glory and to your own ends. Lord, I pray that we do it to the best of our ability. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. We'll see you guys in a couple days. With that, my name is Chris.
I'm Alan.
And this has been Just Between Us.
Where's my salute?
Well, I'm working on it, but I gotta
Wait, I can want to be a little bit louder.
get the SIN card ready. There
You
you
don't
go.
need.
This
You
is
gotta get your other hand up. There you go.
This is just between us.
This is just between us.
Perfect. 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 Perfect.